So, ladies and gentlemen, I know this is a no-stop session because for problems of timing, we'll try our best to finish maybe even a little bit earlier. Let's see what happens. And the name of this session is After Home Evidence. So in several respects, we'll try to look at what is happening. You know, this is a domain where it's happening everything. I mean, basically, when Sartori was writing, it was the age of television. Now we're fully into the internet age, and it's only 20 years. And God knows what's going to be in the next 20 years. So when I first discussed with Leonardo, and he offered me the possibility of participating to this conference, Leonardo was well aware that my main personal and scientific connection with Giovanni concerned the methodological field. Basically, I had been involved for over 20 years in writing a book on concept analysis with Ted Lowy, where Sartori was very important and in our approach. And in fact, I very clearly remember a meeting, a conversation we had in Urbino when he was getting one of his several honorary degrees. And it was 2005, and he was somewhat lamented that his whole work on methodology had been somewhat neglected. Actually, there was one only book by Serafis who had been published in Greek, a collection of his works. And he was very much interested in the work we and Ted were doing, just because he felt that this was an important, very important part of his own work. At this point, we can move on with our other panelists. And let me just briefly present them to you all. Greta Mastroianni Greco. The title of her presentation is The American Homo Digitalis and Political Radicalization, a Sartorian Analysis. Greta Mastroianni Greco has a PhD in political science and serves as an expert in the field of history of political thought and gender studies in the Department of Political Science at Roma III University. She's an associate member of the Italian Association of the History of Political Thought. She's a research fellow at Treccani Foundation, and she's regularly a guest lecturer for the Institute of European Studies in Rome. Her research interests include the history of American feminism, political dystopia, and social media. Jesus Silva-Herzog Marquez will present a discourse from Homo Evidence to Princeps Visibilis. Jesus is a professor at the Escuela de Gobierno y Transformación Pública, Tecnológico de Monterrey, Mexico, specializing in political philosophy, comparative politics, and political idea. The authors of several publications, among which The Idiocy of Perfection, Walking and Seeing, The House of Contradiction. He studied with Giovanni Sartori at Columbia. Derrick de Kerckhove will present a paper. The title is Carrying Sartori's Vision to the Present. Derrick has worked with Marshall McLuhan for over 10 years as translator, assistant, and co-author. He has been the director of the McLuhan Program in Culture and Technology at the University of Toronto from 1983 until 2008, and a professor at several Italian and French universities, among others, the University of Naples, Federico II. He's the author of several books, among which Brain Frames, The Skin of Culture, and last but not least, The Quantic Man, just published by Feltrinelli, Mind, Society, and Democracy. So, I give the floor to Greta.
Good afternoon, not morning. Thank you so much for this invitation. I'm very honored and proud to be here as a young academic. And I would like also to say something about the spoiler alert Professor Calise said as a trigger warning. I'm an outsider in the sense that my field is history of political thought. So I'm very beyond Sartori from this point of view. But Sartori, this is the demonstration maybe that Sartori could be studied by, I don't know, anyone, every field, and it could be very, very interesting. Today, briefly, I would like to share some conclusions of my research about Sartori. My goal is very, very simple. I used, and I will use today in this speech, Giovanni Sartori's categories, let's say concepts, terminology, and theories to better understand the current American political radicalization online, both online and offline. So I will use also homovidence. And I repeat, I know that yesterday we said a lot that we are beyond, in the sense, Sartori. I use the perspective of Sartori to look to our present, let's say. So, according to Sartori, the American political culture and mentality are pragmatic. Pragmatism is based on flexibility, adaptability, and compromise. The US system, so we're talking about presidentialism and also the two-party system, favors governability, this for Sartori. It balances the centrifugal and localist drives, because for Sartori, the major risks of paralysis are due to divided government, and the problem, this problem is for him since the Eisenhower administration, and at the same time there's the problem linked to localism for the Congress. Sartori also said the American system works only because Americans want it to work. Sartori also distinguished between two typology of ideologism, and that's very important for my research at the beginning. So we have structural ideologies and functional ideologies. When we're looking to structural ideologies, according to Sartori, we have to call it polarization. So we're talking about ideological distance. At the same time, on the other side, we have functional ideologies, and that's not the ideological distance, but that's the ideological intensity or ideological passion, and at the same time we can call it the high political temperature. And so that's radicalization for Sartori. And in the two-party system, in the American two-party system, for Sartori, the ideological distance is usually short. Maybe in some period it can be, more big, but usually is very short for the structural reason for Sartori. And party competition is centripetal. Sartori warned us, do not confuse ideology with hot politics, and at the same time, do not confuse pragmatism with cold politics. Now let's look at history, because, I'm a historian. So radicalization, according to Sartori in the US, is not a new phenomenon. Obviously, Sartori talked about its period, but if we think about it, we had this kind of high political temperature, high and down, since the beginning of the US. So we had Jefferson against Hamilton, and we had the Civil War, we had McCarthyism, we have the Vietnam War, we had cultural wars during the 90s, and also the entire Bush administration, or if you want, the war on terror and the American political situation after 9/11. And last but not least, obviously, the so-called Trump era since the presidential campaign of 2016. So radicalization, if we look at history, Sartori is right, comes in cycles. And it is shaped by political, social, and cultural and economic factors. For Sartori, voters tend to simplify politics. They put the burden of rationality on governing elites. Also, this is terminology from Sartori. So when this kind of governing elites decide to fan the flames, and I'm quoting Sartori, fan the flames over the political radicalization, it inevitably rises even more. And that's obviously the case we are seeing. Sartori also studied the media revolution. He spoke of video democracy and also video politics as direct results of the media revolution. His fear was very clear. Voters guided by video leaders who embody message without conveying one, simply. The digital revolution is very different. It is interactive, fast, flexible, and at the same time, Sartori said something about the digital age. And, I cannot quote, but knowing Sartori also, you can imagine Sartori said something like, "I'm not stupid. I know that we are at the beginning of the digital age, and I'm also thinking that all the theories about homo videns will last forever, also with the Homo digitalis, but we're seeing in a moment." So the digital age has brought infodemics, hyperconnectivity, and also algorithms. This increases alienation, emotionality, and also tribalism in politics. Sartori's distinction between Homo sapiens and Homo videns remains crucial. He said that at his time, the anthropological changing and replacement was not completed, but in the future it will be. So right now, the mental and symbolic being is definitely have been replaced by the ocular animal. So from Homo sapiens to Homo videns. The centrality of image limits also right now abstraction and critical thought, and his fear is right now our reality. And I'm using his terminology. Video seeing was replaced by video living. Video child was replaced by the digiborn. This was his prediction. The political control of images known as video power in Sartori's work is still fundamental. Sartori also predicted the so-called Homo digitalis, a human dominated by the technology humans created, but at the same time remaining homo videns. He saw a cultural shift from logos to pathos, from rational reason to emotion in politics. The social media made this worse, obviously. So they promised sociability, but at the same time, they increase political and social division through invented spaces. So we have two types of invented spaces: the social cultural ones called echo chambers, and at the same time we have the ones created by algorithms. Called filter bubbles. So we have echo chambers group people by identity and values, and filter bubbles close users in epistemic bubbles. So both of them, the problem is that both of them are reducing our capability to be open to dialogue in politics. Also, non-algorithmic processes matter. So we have gamification that is linked to Homo Ludens of John Huizinga. So this is when we have the application of scores, rankings, something like that, rewards to online interactions to gain social status online, obviously, through likes, followers, and shares. And, you know, this is kind of shocking. We have also the socialization of political judgment. Hannah Arendt would be very proud. So political opinions right now are shaped online by social approval. Together, all of these dynamics fuel online radicalization. For Sartori, public opinion forms in a cascade from economic and social elites to political and governing elites to media to local leaders, and after finally to citizens, or if you want, to demos. And this is the result for Sartori, of the interaction between information flaws and at the same time partisan identification with references group. Television already threatens this kind of process, obviously. Today, social media has reshaped it. So we have the problem that social media fragmented and at the same time decentralized the cascade, but they also reinforce group identity, and we are, to the end, algorithms reward intensity. So right now we're looking to the elites, the political and governing elites. Algorithms rewards intensity. So leaders are using viral and polarizing messages to control the narrative both online and offline. We have the so-called social media democracy, in the sense that leadership has become followership of the online public opinion. And we have also the so-called fast politics, reducing political action to the ineffectiveness of communicative gestures. According to Sartori, America is the perfect case of this kind of video democracy. Videocracy, excuse me. So if we look at history, this is not a new thing. Roosevelt used the radio in the sense that radio has had a pivotal role. Kennedy and Reagan used the television, and Trump used Twitter. At the same time, you know, the Bush administration was always was already beyond the, over the, I don't know, over the rhetoric presidency, typical of the United States, and also Obama was the first social media president at the same time. So in the past, institutions filtered radicalization. Now platforms bypass these filters. In addition, we have to consider, obviously, that Trump's rhetoric is binary and very polarized, so he fanned the flames. He imported the logics and codes of online interaction into presidential communication. To conclude, there is no one-way link between online and offline radicalization. The relationship is very circular. Platforms do not create beliefs, but they amplify and radicalize them. Online radicalization influences media and institutions right now, but deeper processes prepare the ground. Demopathy, the decline of compromise, the erosion of representativity, the erosion also of and fragmentation of epistemic authority, and the shift predicted by Sartori from Homo sapiens to Homo videns. The spiral of American political radicalization, both online and offline, demands vigilance and also critical reflections. So, as Sartori warned us, optimism without foundations is poor strategy. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Greta, and I give the floor to Jesus.
Thank you very much.
Dinner yesterday evening to discuss this matter with the Institute. So,
There is a message of hope. And
there is a message of hope.
Institutional building, fantastic.
And those who won't join us in this adventure, of course, they have the opportunity to connect, which Vanni did not have at his time.
Thank you.